And now I'd like to welcome back to the channel for a final time to recap a race for the 2025 NASCAR Truck Series season, Frankie Muniz. Hey, Frankie, thanks for joining me today.
No, thanks for having me. This has been fun.
It has been a fun year. So let's go to the final race of the season. And I have to ask, because I was thinking about this through the whole season, I would think of all the Truck Series drivers, no one had as many miles as you did, traveling back and forth to the shoot of the reboot. So this final race of the season is a home race for you, your home track. So it had to feel good knowing you didn't have to travel anywhere. It was just this nice little place. I'll talk to you about the final remarks at the end about trick or treating, which I thought was hilarious. So tell me what it was like, racing at your home track.
Yeah, I a lot of drivers I think either love or hate Phoenix as like a race, and I've always enjoyed the track. Like I've enjoyed it. So I was excited to get back to Phoenix. I've raced there a few times now. But also it being my home race obviously is nice. At the same time, I remember Friday morning waking up and I tried to go to breakfast with my mom's here visiting and my wife and my son and we raced and then I had to go do something else and I forgot things and I raced to go to the track and I'm texting my wife like, I forgot this, you need to bring it. And I was like, actually being home makes it more stressful because I have more responsibility at home where when I'm on the road, I'm just in a hotel. I only have my backpack and a small suitcase. Like I can't forget anything, right? I don't have anything. So I don't know. I actually remember saying like when I got to the track, like this was way harder than when I'm on the road. So I think I prefer to race not in Phoenix just because I don't have the responsibility of all the duties and stuff I have to do at home.
Okay, so the actual race, practice, and then qualifying. So I know last week we talked about, this is the final race of the season. Let's be aggressive. So kind of talk to me about the mindset going into practice and qualifying on the final race.
Yeah, I was, excited that we got the 50-minute practice. Just you get to not rush as much. You can really kind of try things. You can make some bigger changes. And we went out initially, and the truck felt really good. I just needed to push harder. Same thing that's been kind of something I still need to work on is like everybody on lap one or two puts in a really good time. And my fast lap was on lap 15. You know what I mean? So like the tires are basically gone. But when we started looking at the speed, like or the lap times we were doing on lap 20 of our tires or lap 30 of our tires compared to a majority of the field, we were pretty close actually. On paper, like it showed that we were pretty far off, like to the fast time. But I would say over 50% of the field mocked up at the end of qualifying, put on new tires, cooled the motor, did a mock qualifying run, which obviously is going to be a lot quicker.
Right.
We didn't do that. So I didn't really know where we stood as far as like how far we were really off. But I remember feeling like the truck felt good. Like we made positive changes and it was very repeatable, right? I could run equivalent lap times consistently, and I knew that if we did that in the race, we'd be all right. Granted, having to do a practice Thursday night and then come back Friday morning, and your first lap is like you got to put it in, mocked up. You're going to go a lot faster than you did the day before, and you got to trust that it's going to take it. It is pretty. I don't want to say difficult, but like it makes you nervous because like you got to go way deeper, lift less, get to the power sooner than you ever felt the previous night, but and you only get one chance to do it. So I went in, you cut the dog leg for the first time, right? Because you don't want to do it during practice. It really messes up the truck. Like it really like bends the side skirts, you're just, and you got to pass tech the next morning. So you don't want to like mess something up and, you know, fail tech or whatever it may be. And so you do it for the first time in the qualifying lap. And I cut down super aggressive. But because it's the first time you're doing it, it might sound weird. I kind of got lost on where I was on track because like everything you use as a reference when you're taking the normal line, like where the cones are, or like marks, or the banners on the wall, whatever it is that you use as your lift point,
Mhm.
you're coming from a completely different angle. And I remember like getting up to the corner and being like, I don't know where I am. Meaning like, how far am I into the corner or not? So I ended up like lifting where I thought I needed to. And I had tons of grip, got the throttle, really good drive off, got really good through three and four. And it felt like a really good lap. And I had ended up picking up like 1.4 seconds in qualifying compared to my practice time, which is such a huge jump. And we were like a tenth off of Crafton. We were way closer to the field.
Mhm.
Granted, I got out of the car and I was like, man, I had so much more. That like if it was easy, like if the car just took it, you could have done more, right? You could have drove in deeper. You could have rolled more speed. You could have got the throttle sooner, right? Until you go, oh, I almost lost it. Like I had to lift out of it. You didn't get it all. So I was kind of like not disappointed in myself, but like I go, wow, the truck was really good, but we easily could have been three, four tenths quicker. When we pulled up the SMT data, because I got lost going into one, I lifted way earlier than I normally was. There was easily a 26.9 if I just got that corner right. Because like compared to Raja, I lost all of it entering turn one, like over 5 tenths of a second entering turn one, and then
Right.
through and out and of one and two, and then through three and four, we were identical. So it was all in that entry. So I go, man, I wish I could have it back because like I know we could have been way closer to the field and probably qualified easily maybe in the top 20. But overall, I was happy though. Sorry, I tell long stories. Overall, I was happy because I felt like I made a huge improvement from practice, and I felt like I was aggressive. Like I felt like you always can say woulda, coulda, shoulda after the lap, but in the moment and when they told me my time, I was pretty happy with the improvement we made.
Yeah, you talked about it was so gripped up, balance wise, it was good. You could have gone a little deeper. You talked about that. All right, so then we get to the actual right before the race, and I had Pedro's words to you were, remember what we talked about. This truck doesn't owe you a freaking thing. Drive it like a rental go-kart. I want you to drive the living piss out of this thing. So just going back through all the races this year, Frankie, aggressiveness has been a theme, and you just mentioned it a second ago. So going into the final race of the season, your crew chief has said, drive the piss out of this thing. So aggressiveness was obviously a big thing going into this final race.
Yeah, I would say that's probably one of the biggest things I need to work on now in the off season is uh my aggressiveness initially, right? Like on the starts, sometimes I tiptoe because I still have the mindset of like you gotta finish to finish.
Right.
Like you gotta be there 150 laps later or 200 laps later. So like especially here at Phoenix, the starts are insane, right? With everyone going, seven wide, like, happened at the end of the race, going in because there's no out of bounds. And it's the first time you're feeling that too. But I was like, I can't let that hold me back. I can't just push 90% in that moment. I really got to be aggressive. So that's something I know going into next year that I want to do better at is being on kill mode. We talk about it a lot from the drop of the green. Um, we had talked about rental go-karts, right? If you go to a rental go-kart place, I'm going to drive it beyond its capabilities and you don't care and I'm going to be fast and it's going to be fun and like you have no fear, right? And we were talking about Will Rogers, my spotter. He's like, when we go there and you do that, like you just do it. You don't even think. You're above the limit and you have fun with it and it's awesome. He's like, that's how you need to drive these trucks. Not in preserve it to the end mode, not in let me figure it out and then
Right.
get up to speed because you lose so much time that those initial 4 or 5 laps. If I lose half the track because I'm in conservative mode, like you're never going to gain that back. So, we talked about that, and I feel like in this race I did better at that, right? Maybe I was 97% instead of 90%. You know what I mean? So still, I have a little bit more those initial 4 laps because if you look at my lap times, like the first four, I was a little slower, but then five throughout, I was really close to like the field as far as lap time goes. But I had already lost, half a straightaway on
Right.
those first four, you know, conservative laps, if you want to call it that. So I got to work on it, but we'll see.
Okay, so one of the other themes that I noticed was the number five team. Y'all were focused on that. So I was trying to figure out exactly why, and I think I did looking through the stats. It was the owners' points battle, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. So when I came back from injury with three races to go, I think in the owner's points, the 33 truck was about 25 or so points behind the five.
right.
So I knew there was a possibility of us gaining that position. Now, it might seem small to go from 28th in owner points to 27th, but when we get to Daytona, the owner's points mean a lot for those first three races, especially next year with the five Dodge trucks coming in that you know are going to be good, right? Amazing drivers. They're putting a lot of money into that program, like insane money into that program. And I think they're expecting, like this year, there was 30 or 31 full-time teams. Next year, they're expecting 35 full-time teams, right? That are going to be at every single race.
Hmm.
Never mind, you're going to have the, Henderson come in with Parker, at certain races. You're going to have the Norm Bennings. You're going to have all those cars that come in that could disrupt some of those full-time guys where you're going to need provisionals,
Okay,
right?
right.
So every spot up, so even that one spot difference to where we get the provision, potentially, if we need it, the provisional before the five does, that's huge, those first couple races. So we knew it was a big ask to gain 25 points over the five in um, three races, but we had the top 20 in Talladega, and I don't remember what happened to her, but we beat her by a good amount. Martinsville, she wrecked out. She was fast. She was really good there, but
Right.
she got wrecked or whatever. Um, and we had a decent finish there. And then going into this race, we knew we needed to beat her by five positions because five positions we would have tied in the points, and then I had a better finish with the top 10 at Daytona. Um, so we would have got the tiebreaker. So our goal was like we got to beat her by five. So
Okay.
I kept asking, where is she? Like, what do I need to make it happen? And I was really using it as motivation because, you know, I know how important it is for the team next year.
Okay. Well, the other thing that I noticed right out of the gate was visibility. And so going into that sun, driving into the sun, just kind of tell me the sensation because to me, I always hear him talk about it. We'll talk about it today during the cup race. And it's like mind blowing to me that you're driving at such a high speed, blind, basically. And there's cars in front of you, behind you, beside you. So it's just mind blowing that you just got to have this confidence that this place on the track, you're going to be blind and trust that everybody's going to stay in line. So talk to me about what that's like.
Yeah, I really don't. I mean, other than when you're driving on the freeway and the sun's coming up or the sun's going down and it's right in your face, you're like, I can't see. I need sunglasses. Or like you're completely blind. You're going 150, 160 miles an hour into turn three, and it's a hard brake zone, and that wall jets out, right? Like
Right.
right to the apex. You can't see the wall. And you've seen accidents where people hit that, right? And it's big. So I don't know who plans the start times of these races and why like it couldn't start 35 minutes later to where the sun's behind the grandstands or whatever. Because to me, it seems like, they're so adamant about safety in this series. Granted, nothing happened for the last two races, right? Nothing happened because of it in the truck race, and nothing happened in it because of the Xfinity race. But it is bad. Like it's pretty gnarly. Um, Granted, everyone's in the same boat, but I don't know, from a safety aspect, I don't fully understand it because it's really, really bad. Like I have visors. I wear Zamp helmets and they have a visor that changes, it's like a transition lens, which somehow no other helmet companies make that, which I think is crazy because everyone who knows that I have that is like, whoa, that's the greatest invention ever. Because a lot of times with these races where it starts in like dead sunlight and then goes to night, you have to choose between running a really dark visor, which you can see during the day, but then you can't see at night, or running a clear visor and you can't see during the day, but you can see at night. Where my visor changes color, so I have a little advantage there, thanks to Zamp, but it's still bad. It's still not ideal. We had put some tape on the windshield a lot lower just to help kind of a little bit, but yeah, it's not ideal.
Okay, then in that first stage, Will is telling you to be aggressive on the dog leg. He repeated that multiple times. And so there's really nothing like that on the circuit. So kind of just tell me, I mean, you talked about how you can be confused at where you are. So
Yeah.
what are you thinking when you're hearing, all right, Will's already telling me to start. I got to be aggressive, more aggressive on the dog leg.
Yeah. I mean, it's a interesting thing. Like you're constantly making decisions at all times in the race car, right? But even that, like timing the run and knowing when to use it or when not to use it is just a spur of the moment decision that you need to make. Now, when you're in the race car and like people use it from behind you and you see the gain they make, like they almost clear you if I take the regular route and they take the dog leg, they almost clear you going into one. So it's a pretty big advantage. Now, I always originally, the first time I was going to race at Phoenix, I knew of that advantage. I was like, why don't people use it every time? If it's a half a second quicker every lap, like why wouldn't you use that every single time? It is so harsh on the car, but your body, like it's brutal. Like you see the sparks flying and like it's not fun to take it because like it hurts. I don't know how to explain it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Um, so you need to be aggressive. Like if you have a run, you've got to decide to take it, and you can't take it halfway. I was watching the Xfinity race last night, and some people take it halfway. There's not really an advantage to taking it halfway. You've got to like really shortcut it if you're going to use it. Like where the pit exit wall, you almost hit that. That's how you know like you're getting the full value of the shortcut. Um, so yeah, just trying to be aggressive, making the right call on using it and taking advantage of the shortcut when you need it. And I think I did a pretty good job of it in my race, using it when I need it or defending or whatever it may be. And it's fun. That's why I really like Phoenix because there is all those options. You can go anywhere, and I think it made for a pretty exciting race.
I do know Chase Briscoe said last year before the Phoenix race, I think it was on Sirius XM. I was listening to an interview with him, and he said it is undeniably the most violent thing that happens outside of a crash in NASCAR every year
Yeah.
is cutting the dog leg. He said it's the most violent thing
It's
in the sport.
it's weird though, because like you'll feel like you're doing it in the same exact spot every time, or like pretty close to it. But like a 6 inch difference of where you like hit that transition goes from like you having a concussion and it like going, oh, that was pretty smooth. But like I every time you go in, you're like, what am I gonna feel? Like I don't know how to explain it,
Right.
but you're so focused that you just gotta do it.
Okay, so we get through that first stage, and you talk about you're building tight in the center, especially 3 and 4. And it's really hard to get down to the line because Will was telling you to get down to the yellow line. You said it's really hard to get down there unless I completely overslow it. So, kind of tell me
Yeah.
that first stage, what you were feeling.
Yeah, no, it definitely was tight, which I think is the nature of the track, especially with like the heat of the day until the sun went down. We
Right.
knew we'd probably be a little tight. But Phoenix 3 and 4, I would say more than anywhere that we go, if you miss by 3 inches, putting your front tires where you want it going into the corner, you can never get it back down there, right? Like, and the difference of being, 6 inches off the line and, or whatever is night and day in the amount of grip you have. Granted, if you run more of like that second line, like if you go way higher,
Right.
there's grip there, but that in between, you're lost. So in order for me in the first stage to get to the line, I had to feel like I had to hold the brake so much longer than I wanted to. Basically, stop. It feels like in the car, like you stopped. You know what I mean? Like you feel like you're so slow. But then I'd be really aggressive power out. So there's that fine balance of like rolling speed and not overslowing the car, but also be able to get to power and have a really good exit, especially, long straight. So I was trying to figure that out. You're playing with it, but then, you want to give Pedro, my crew chief, you want to give him a direction of like, hey, how can we be faster? How can we be better? That's what we were lacking. We just didn't have overall grip in the front, and if I had that and still maintain where I could get to throttle and not like be loose off the corner, we would be a lot better.
Okay. Then we get to the, excuse me, the start of the second stage. And I have lap 13. You're battling around the number 5. And Will says, drive the shit out of that thing, hit your marks. And then Pedro says, which is something I've heard earlier this year, remind him getting groceries is the fastest way around. So
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah. You know, I it's a weird thing that maybe only drivers experience, maybe not, maybe other athletes or whatever it may be may experience it. Like if you're tense, like if you're trying really hard, you actually go slower. And it's the weirdest thing because like inside the car, when I'm tense, if I'm really working it and feel like I'm fighting, you feel like you're really pushing it, right? Like, oh, this is gonna be so fast. But your fastest laps sometimes are the ones where you just like breathe and allow it to happen. I would say on Friday's race, I ran 50% of the race really tense, and 50% of the race where like I just was I call it getting groceries. And I learned that when I did the pro celebrity race in Long Beach. If you drove those cars and you felt like you were driving it, you were slow. If I drove like I was going to the grocery store, is what I would say. Like I'm just cruising to the grocery store. Like I remember the last year of that race, it was um, me, Jimmy Vasser, Max Papis, Alonso Jr., all these like huge star racers, and I outqualified all of them because I drove it like I was going to the grocery store. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I tell them to remind me that because that's basically saying like just breathe, allow your body to relax into the seat. And when I do that, I always do my fast lap times. But even though I know that it's hard in the heat of the battle to not get that like tense fight like in your body, right? So I have to breathe in the corners and literally allow my head, my body to just completely rest against the seat and the headrest as you're supposed to. And you know, because you can feel the car better then, right? You can feel what the grip level of the car. You know, when you're tense, you can make in your mind it feel like it's doing something that it's not. Where when you're relaxed, you really feel with your butt, with the seat of your pants, what you have grip wise, and I don't know, just easier to be committed.
Well, and so you mentioned that, and then right after that, you picked up time because Will said, "Good job, you picked up time," and then you got away from the five and you started getting a couple other cars. So clearly, it worked. That the thought of the
It does.
groceries. So
I know it does. And like I do need to still be reminded of it, right? Of like just relax. I know what I need to do. Like my brain, I'm a racer. Like I don't have to force it. So, but sometimes I need to be reminded to not force it and just to drive.
right. So then we go to the end of the stage. You pass the 76, which you had been trying to get by. You said the last 20 laps, it felt really good. So then we go into the stage break, and Will says, we got to push our truck to a limit that we're not used to run a different lane or whatever so we can get side by side. So, I mean, I'm hearing this is it. This is the final stage of the season. Let's go out there. Let's be as aggressive as possible.
Yeah, I think I thought that there was going to be some mayhem in the race for multiple reasons. A, we didn't have a lot of mayhem this year in the Truck Series, which it's kind of known for, right?
Right.
So I don't know if, like in my mind, I was like, everyone's saving it for Phoenix, you know what I mean? But there's a new rule change where all the bodies have to come off the trucks now, right? Before next year, they changed the rules of so what I'm saying is like I think people were willing to be more aggressive to ruin trucks because either way they gotta replace all the bodies on them anyway. But yeah, I think that's Will was saying that to me too in that sense, right? Like this truck, like we can't use next year, right? As it is. So don't be afraid to push the envelope because you need to make gains or, you know, die trying. I don't know.
Right.
I
Right.
don't know how to explain it. Um, but yeah, I knew, I felt really good in the car. Like I felt like we had a really good balance. I felt like I could be racy. We had a lot of side by side racing in this race, which even though I think in this stage a lot of it was with my teammate, you know, and even that, like normally if it's my teammate, I would either lay over or hope that they would not lay over, but like why are we racing each other so tight? But me and Clayton and the two, I don't know, for 15 laps, we're like trading paint the whole time. And I was like, look, I I need to beat him. I need to beat the 5 by 5 positions, and he's one of the positions I need to beat. I can't let him by. And I was better than him exiting of one and entering three, but he was better out of three. So like it kept us like we literally like he'd get in front of me and I'd go around the outside, and then he'd get in front of me and I'd go around the outside. Like nonstop until I think he lost it underneath me. I didn't even realize he hit me because it was so light, but it sent me up the track, and we were like inches from hitting the wall in turn two. And I thought maybe I made a mistake. Like I was like, did I come down too much? Like I was pretty consistently like going to the same place each time. But he ended up coming up to me after the race. He's like, I'm so sorry. I just lost it. Like, you know, but yeah.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, Frankie, because I have on lap 15, Will says, can't believe we have to race our teammates like that. What the F? He doored us off for, I don't know if you've seen it, Pedro. And Pedro says, no, I didn't see it. I was trying to do fuel mileage. So he didn't see what was going on. But
Yeah.
then, that's when you have the incident. And then you sarcastically say, I love racing my teammates. And then that echoes what Pedro and Will had just said. So kind of give me a sense because there's obviously been different drivers in the different trucks this year. Obviously, Josh, when I was at Texas, was in the 22. So it
Yeah.
kind of has a rotation of different truck drivers. So give me a
Yeah.
sense of what are the rules of engagement and do you guys talk about it before the race? Because clearly
No.
this is something you have a stake in for the season long points and you need to get
Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah. No, there's not really discussion. The only thing is like we talk about in practice not being around each other, right? Because like it would be awful if we took ourselves out in
right.
practice or something like that. In the race, you're racing. You know, being that you have a rotation of drivers in the other two trucks and I'm the only full-time guy, they're out there trying to do everything they can to have the best finish they can, not necessarily for the team, but for themselves, right? They want to
True.
prove to their sponsors and to themselves that they can compete and all that. So I understand that. And I don't expect them ever to like give me a pass or go easy on me or whatever. But I always want to be the best driver or the best finishing driver of the RBR stable, right? Like not comparing it to Formula One, but like that your biggest competitor is your teammate, right? If I'm
Right.
beating my teammates in equivalent equipment, right? That's the best gauge of kind of where I'm at.
Mhm.
You know, that's the only thing that I can really gauge. They've got a similar, if not the same setup on their trucks. Um, going into it. So I use it as motivation. And for the most part this year, I think there's a few sessions where I was slower in practice or qualifying or got beat in the race by one of my teammates. But for the most part, I was the highest finishing car. And that's something that I use as motivation as well, right? I want to be the guy on the team that is the fastest or the best. I want to beat everybody, but
Sure.
there is something about that. But they all feel the same way. There's no like rules of engagement while racing. Granted, like I think the number one rule in motorsports is like don't wreck your teammate. You know what I
Right.
mean? But yeah, no, I don't. There's not like a discussion of like don't do it. And my sarcastic comment of like I love racing my teammates is like, man, that was probably one of the toughest, longest battles I had all season. You know what I mean? Like it was like 15, I don't know, 14, 15 laps of us like side by side, literally just battling when I know I have to beat the 76 and he's getting away from us because we're side by side. But granted, that's just the nature of what NASCAR racing is. So
Right.
I wasn't mad at it. Just, I gotta be faster than him. So,
Right.
you know,
Okay, so then we have the Andres Perez crash, which you avoided. And then on that caution, it looks like you were warming up tires and you come on the radio and say, I had heavy contact with the 15, and then he flips you off. So kind of tell me what happens with that. And then I want to ask you about your flip off policy.
yeah, I mean, you're warming your tires, you're trying to do everything you can. I had no idea that he was trying to come around my outside. I can't see. You can't see
Right.
behind you, and you can't see to the right. You can barely see to the left, like, but you can turn your head a little bit to where you can see out your window a tiny bit.
Hmm.
And I'm just warming up the tires, and I mean, I hit him hard, and he gets in front of me, he's flipping me off, and I'm like, I just didn't know that he was going to be coming on the outside. We're about to go green. I still don't understand the rules of why some people are allowed to pass you under yellow and some people aren't. I don't know. I know maybe he was on the lead lap, but hadn't we already figured that out? Like, hadn't we already dropped back? I don't know. Like it was just a weird thing. And I definitely am not trying to hit people under yellow. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Especially if I'm not on the same lap as you, like,
Right.
so I didn't mean for it to happen, but I literally just had no idea that he was there. I get worried because I go, it felt like significant enough contact where you go like, did I push the fender in? Now am I gonna have a tire rub? We're gonna pop a tire going into turn one because we have a tire rub. So I was more worried about that. But yeah, everything worked out in the end.
So I asked you about the flip off policy. The reason I asked that is because it was either last year or the year before, there was a big debate on the etiquette of flipping off drivers because, like Jimmy Johnson said, hey, it's been part of the sport forever. And then there were
Yeah.
others saying, hey, that's offensive to me. If you do it, I'm going to be pissed off at you. So kind of give me a sense because this is the first time I've really heard of someone flipping you off this year. So kind of give me a
No,
sense.
the only other person that's flipped me off this year is Matt Crafton. It's happened like 3 or 4 times, and that's why I
Okay,
have beef with him. You know what I mean?
right.
So you're right. Like it does piss me off. I'm like, bro, like, I will wreck you. I'm kidding. That's where my mind goes. I'm in the car. I'm like, I didn't do anything to you. You want me to do something to you? Here you go. No, okay. um, no, I've never flipped anyone off in the race car, mostly because my arms are too short. I actually can't reach out the window, so they wouldn't be able to see it. But B, I don't know, like you know what it is. Like it's racing. Everyone's in the same boat of like you're so focused, you're kind of hot-headed as a race car driver anyway. You have to be, right? Like
Right.
you're in that attack mode. So I understand it. It's just I don't know that circumstance. Not saying that Will Rogers, my spotter, should have said, "Hey, like they're coming around your outside," but like, you're using the track to like warm up. You're not expecting guys to like be there. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so then it's 12 to go in the race, and noted that you're four ahead of the number five truck.
How many laps
So
to go, did you say?
12,
12. Okay.
12 to
Yep.
go. And then I have the next note I have is 4 laps to go, and you report a real bad vibration on the right front. So what was going on there?
Yeah, 4 laps to go, and all of a sudden, like I literally vibrate, which I hadn't had all race, like just literally vibrating, like I couldn't believe. And then when I hit the brakes, it was so much worse. And you go, man, I do not want to blow a tire. For our race, because I knew at that point that we were ahead of the five, the amount of positions we needed. So I was still racing a few guys. So I'm like, I can't let them by me, like, and take it easy these last laps just to finish.
Right.
So I wanted to still be aggressive, but it was bad. And I haven't had a ton of experience with like vibrations to know what causes some of them. So I'm just reporting to the team what I have so then they can make a call. And I think, didn't they tell me to pit next time by? And I was like, well, no, like then we lose to the five. Like we only got 2 or 3 laps left. Like we got to risk it. I'm just telling you it's bad,
Right.
Um, but what I think ended up happening because there was that late caution and it was going to go to the first green white checker or green white checker, whatever it was, and the 11 and the 98 had just caught me to lap me, and I went really high to give them space because my only rule for this race was like I got to race super hard. I cannot take out the 11 or the 98 and be the storyline of why they didn't win the championship.
Right.
Like, right? Even though we're all racing out there and like, sure they're racing for the championship, but you got to race them hard. So at the same time, like I just didn't want to be the storyline of that. So I went really high through one and two to allow both of them underneath me. And I think I just picked up a ton of rubber because nobody was running up there. And that rubber buildup just caused it to vibrate pretty crazy because it did go away after I kind of cleaned up the tires and all that.
Okay, then we get to the green white checker, and that's when you tell Paige to get your son ready to go trick or treating. I'll meet you guys in the neighborhood, which I just thought that's absolutely perfect radio communication because you're in Phoenix. And I'm like, okay, that's a reminder that he's at his home track, clearly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, my wife, we were trying to plan because like obviously she wasn't thrilled that the race was on Halloween because it always feels like I miss all of those moments. I just
sure.
have. Like since my son has been born, I've missed 2 or 3 birthdays of his, which is only four, because I'm off working or doing stuff. I haven't been to one of his baseball games yet. You know what I mean? Because they're always on Saturday mornings. I'm flying home, and so I do unfortunately that is the downside of being a race car driver. Is like I miss a lot of things. So I had convinced her like he'll be dressed up in his costume. And there's neighborhoods right outside the racetrack there in Avondale. I will literally get out of the race car, sweaty and disgusting, barely say goodbye to my guys, and we'll get in the car and we'll go to one of those neighborhoods so he can trick or treat a little bit before the race is over. So I go, the race is starting at 4:30. It's gonna be over by 6:30. We'll have plenty of time. It'll be great. And then we have two like lengthy red flags. We're in that second red flag, and I'm sitting there going like, I know she's listening on the radio, and I was like, babe, like maybe I shouldn't be thinking about this right now with like two to go. Got a lot on the line here, but like just go. I'll meet you in the neighborhood because I don't want her to get mad or like be sitting there like during that red flag thinking like he's gonna miss it while he's already like he was a tow truck driver like waiting to go trick or treating for because I thought like hey I don't think we were done wrecking at that point, you know what I mean? I thought like they're gonna go for it even more here than they already have been with the championship on the line. So yeah, I just made that comment.
So then you make it through the final green, white checker flag and you finish 19th. So your
Yeah.
fifth top 20 of the season. So just kind of once you cross the start finish line, what are you thinking, reflecting back on the season, reflecting back on a couple of good results in the final three races? Just kind of tell me what you're thinking when you cross the finish line.
Yeah, I mean, obviously thrilled to get a top 20 again. That's always been our goal.
Right.
If we could do that consistently, points wise, we probably would be 4 or 5 spots higher. There's so many good cars in the series and good teams. Like you can name, the top 4 teams, they all have 4 or 5 cars each. That's your 20, right? And they're spending insane money, huge budgets, huge backing by so many people and the manufacturers and all that. So to be competitive there and finish top 20 is a goal. I was a little disappointed when the checker came out because we had missed the quickie yellow discussion for the last pit stop. So I was following Spencer Boyd and he pit, but I was told second time by because we were a lap down. And he pit. I'm like, yo, should we have pit? Like, why did he pit? Like, he should get a penalty then. Because like I knew that position was important too, still with the 5 and all that. And we missed the quickie yellow designation. So when we pit, they were coming to green, and I had to go to the tail end, and which was on the inside. It put 9 or 10 trucks in between me and the 35 and the 76. And those are the trucks I was racing for those final positions. So I didn't get to race them those last 2 laps because I caught them at the end of, at the checker flag, but I had to pass 10 cars in between us of the people who were like more laps down or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and I got through them, but by the time I got to them, the race was over. So I think I could have finished 17th. You know what I mean? It allowed Van Alst, who I was in front of the whole race in front of us. So I wasn't disappointed, but you always want more, right? Just because we missed that call of the quickie yellow. Um, it could have even been better of a finish, but no, thrilled to have a clean truck again. I raced hard. I felt really confident in my race. Like I felt like I was the most aggressive throughout the race. I didn't ever get that like go into cruise mode. I felt like I was pushing every single lap. We had consistent lap times, didn't make many mistakes. So I was happy overall with how the race went. Um, and I think it was a good way to end, right? Top 20. We had 3 pretty good races, my last 3 races back. And that is motivation going into next year, 100%.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what you said. I love you guys so much, man. This season was so fun. I really appreciate the hard work. I love this. This is so fun. So it's like you can totally sense the enjoyment you had. And just for the record, you finished 6 spots ahead of the 5 car. So you did beat them in owners' points.
Yeah,
Uh,
which is huge for our team, like I said. And one thing I don't know if I've ever said this publicly, like what I mean, my guys work really, really hard. Everybody out there is working hard, meaning
sure.
like all the teams, they're putting a lot of work. The schedule's tough, right? We have 3 full-time cars, and we only have 7 full-time employees at RBR. And compare that to Front Row. Front Row has 2 full-time cars, and they have 50 full-time employees for that truck team. So my guys are working really hard to
Right.
get those cars together and get everything set up and ready to go every week. And I really, really appreciate them for sticking with the team through the ups and downs, right? Like we had a rough part of the season there where like we weren't finishing races. Like everything that could go wrong was going wrong. And it weighs on them too, right? They're putting in their work and their effort to make it happen, putting in long hours. Like they want the results as well, right? It feels way better to have a good result and be happy leaving the track than being sad and having to go work, 16 hours a day to get
Right.
it ready for the next week. So I just wanted them to know that I appreciate them. And which I really do. I love the team. I like honestly, personality wise, we all get along really, really well. But yeah, I think there was a lot of ups and downs, but overall it was a good season. And yeah, I just wanted them to know I appreciate them.
Well, so you talked about that rough stretch. So just kind of going back and looking back at the full season. So there's 25 races through race 12, and I haven't looked at the season honestly, Frankie, until now. And I remember looking at it like at the midway point at the race 12. So now I look at it, and through those first six races or first 12 races, you had six DNFs.
Yeah.
Then after that, you didn't run as many races because you missed four, but you had top 20s for the season. Four of them came after race 12, and you missed those
Yeah.
four races. So clearly to me, it feels like the first half of the season, as we talked about it each week, it was like painful because it was one thing after another. Then we get to the halfway point and you even missed four races. And it's just notably different. It's notably better that you have better finishes. So, what does that tell yourself about this season and how you improve throughout it all?
I mean, it tells me that we can be way more competitive than we were, right? On paper, you look at my results, you look at my average finish, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't tell the whole story, right? Like, obviously, I've got a lot of room for improvement and things I need to work on as a driver.
Right.
But so many things that were out of our control took us out of the race, right? I was saying to Paige, my wife, yesterday morning, we were watching, and I go, I don't think this year I did anything on my own where like I wreck, like, these people spin in practice or they make a mistake or they crash or they cause a wreck or
Right.
whatever. There was nothing I did this year that put me in a position where like I couldn't finish a race. Like it was always like outside of my control, the team's control circumstances. And those sting a lot more because like I look at where I was running, in Rockingham, or I look where I was running in the first Martinsville race and the people I was racing with, and you look where they finished, and I go, man, if I had half of those races back and we just finished where we were running, man, it would have been such a better season, point wise, everything. So, it is tough when you look at that, but at the same time, we did finish a lot stronger, and that is great mindset wise compared to the opposite. Imagine having like a really good first 12 races and like that's how my ARCA season was. We were so good the first half of the season, and then we couldn't finish race the second half of the season, and that weighed on me way more than even this year did. Like than the opposite. Because like getting to finish races, getting to have decent results, getting to feel like we were competitive in a
Right.
sense, like that's what you need, especially for me, like because racing is so mental. It's you really need confidence. You got to feel like you can do it. You got to feel like you compete with those guys. And I feel like the last couple of races we had were positive, and yeah, I think that was good.
So, just in looking back on the season, Frankie, your first full-time season in the Truck Series, how would you grade yourself? I mean, obviously, we can all obviously be our worst self-critics. So, just kind of give me a
Yeah,
sense of how would you grade your season this year?
I mean, I'd probably give myself like a C- grade, to be honest. Just knowing that there's probably a full grade point in me, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then there's a grade point in the luck, right? That you have to have in NASCAR racing as well. Like you need things to go your way. Like we did at Martinsville. We had that at Martinsville. That was really one of the only races where like we caught the cautions at the right time that helped us, right? To
Right.
finish on the lead lap. It was I don't know if I said this yesterday, but it was last week. It was the first lead lap finish on a short track for the
Yep.
team in its history, right? Well, we need that. Like we need those
Sure.
breaks sometimes, and you need that. So I say that's a fair grade. I don't think I was a complete failure, at all. But there's definitely room for improvement in all aspects. So I think yeah, C- is where I was, and I can't say or what I'll be doing next year, but I will be racing. And I hope to, at the end of the season, be a B or an A next year, right? So just
Right.
make improvement on how we feel. And the biggest thing is I want to feel like when I get out of the race car that I gave it 100%. And I would say half the races, I didn't get a chance to do it because we didn't get to finish. But half the race I got in the car and I gave it my all. And half the races I got in, I go, man, why didn't I try harder? And I want to do that way less next year. I want to get out and go, I gave it 100%. And if that's a 30th place finish or it's a top 10, as long as I feel like I gave it everything I had, I could be happy, right? Or I could
Right.
feel like it was a success, regardless what the results are. So I really want to focus on that. I'm going to do a lot of training this off season mentally, you know what I mean, and figure out what it is I need as far as prep to be better going into practice, going into qualifying, going into the race. Because, like I said, racing is so mental, and I think that's where I need to improve the most.
Well, it's been a really fun year. I know I didn't know you before Daytona, and I walked up, I met your PR guys, and I said, "Hey, let's cover Frankie Muniz for the season." And I
Yeah.
did, and I'm really grateful for it. It's been a really fun journey to document this season with you and kind of go through the ups and downs with you and see the, the trials and tribulations and see you overcome it and have a really solid finish to the season. So thank you for allowing me to cover you this year. It was a lot of fun. And like you said, you don't have your plans announced for next year, but hopefully, if you do, maybe we can do it again. But again, I just want to thank you for allowing me to go along in this journey and tell the fans kind of what happened with your 2025 Truck Series season.
I really enjoyed this. I know I missed a few weeks. I was always mad those weeks that I missed doing it because like I like to have this as a reflection of the ups and downs. I can look
Sure.
back and kind of see where I was at mentally or see what I thought was a big deal. Because I do look back at the season at times and I go, man, it was so early in the season that I already kind of thought my season was over, right?
Right.
Because we had those issues. And I go, why did I think at race six? We had 19 races left. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I've even learned from that going into next year, knowing that there are going to be ups and downs. There
Sure.
are going to be things out of your control. But yeah, I've appreciated doing this with you. And yeah, hopefully we can do it next year for sure.
Absolutely. All right, buddy. Appreciate it. Enjoy your off season. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Have a good one.
You
See
as
ya.
well. Take care.